Hello, I'm Mario, and today what I want to do is install a water filtration system in my Geo Pro travel trailer. Now, I've been on the road full-time RVing with my Geo Pro for 1 year now, and I have been using different options to filter my fresh water. So what I have decided to do is, yes, the Geo Pro does come with an onboard water filtration system, and I have a couple of different reasons why I don't use it. In fact, I yanked it out quite a while ago. I have been depending exclusively on an inline water filtration system, and that is connected to the supply hose at the water bib. Like for instance, in a place like this where I have full hookups, I have the city water supply, the filter sits there. But even when I use that filter, even when I fill my freshwater holding tank that is inside the Geo Pro travel trailer. And so that's what I want to do. I want to basically replace that inline system and not have to use that type of system at all with this, and have this stowed inside. And so that's going to relieve a couple of pain points. Like for instance, when it freezes at night and I have to bring that filter inside, that's a hassle, emptying out all the water and all that sort of stuff. And then also just simply when I relocate, I don't want to have to go through the trouble of just basically grabbing it, holding it, stowing it. It's just a pain. So if I can eliminate all of that with this, then I'm going to do it. So this is a large project, and yeah, it's not going to be a lot of fun, but I want to share with you exactly kind of my thought process and how I want to, how I want to implement it, or how I'm going to try to implement it rather. And so what I have here is, this is a product by Clearsource. They've been around for a little while. Don't really know all the history, but I know they've had options, and I've been looking at their options for a while. But recently I checked their website and I saw this option, and this chassis is holding 3 filters. So this is their 3-stage system, and this chassis, they designed it in a way that you can permanently mount it inside, because they have other options where, yeah, you would just, like I said, you would stow it, and then when you arrive at your site, grab it and mount it near the water bib. But I'm trying to avoid that. So this is going to get mounted inside the RV. I found a place, I believe, that I can put it, but I still have to connect up to where my hose would normally hook up. I'm not going to change that spot. And so, yeah, I have to plumb all of that in. So that means cutting holes and all sorts of stuff. And so this is a great idea. Basically, you water supply in here, water supply out here. So rather simple concept, but you have to mount this somewhere, and if you mount it close to the floor or some other area that would otherwise obstruct the bottom of the filters here, then you won't be able to service the filters. Clearsource recommends a quarterly for full-time RVers. So my solution is that I'm going to place it on top of some sort of ledger. In my case, I have this 2x2 piece of pine. So this chassis will rest here, and I've tested it, and that will give me enough clearance underneath. It'll raise up the product enough so I can access the filters. The other thing I want to do is, as you know, mounting things inside and onto the walls of your trailer. This thing is heavy, and when I add water, it's going to be really heavy. So I'm going to try this piece of pine backer board, and I'm going to install this to what I believe are the wall studs in my RV, and also use adhesive and basically just try to make this very, very strong, and then use the slots that they provide on the chassis. They have slots here, and mount that to this board here. So that's the thought process. I think I've located a spot near my refrigerator to mount this thing, and that's going to be the next step. All right, so I think I have my board, my backer board mounted here. What I'm going to do is I have to mount the chassis to here next. And I have these wood screws here with some fender washers, and I think on the towards the center I'm going to use longer ones, because so this is pine and it's going to move and flex, and I'm kind of fighting that by making it so rigid. So in fact what I did was I put some VHB tape on the back here. I prepped things out by wiping the wall down with alcohol, figuring out where the wall studs are. I know I had one here because the factory put a bracket here for one of those jackknife sofas, and the way I understand it, there should be another one here by the window. And so that's what I have, is these longer lag screws just stuck into the wall towards the outside edges, and then I'll mount the chassis here. And yeah, so what I was alluding to is that when I mount the chassis, I'm going to use these longer ones just to try to bring the field in. Like I said, this isn't perfectly all straight and square and everything. And then I'll use the shorter ones towards the sides of the chassis. And then, yeah, and I got my ledger here at the bottom. What I'm doing is I'm putting the ledger all the way in front, so the board is all the way up against the wall and sitting on my wheel well here, and then the ledger's just sitting on the wheel well and up against the backer board. But yeah, I had to, this is pine, so I didn't want it splitting, so all holes are pre-drilled, and including especially this ledger one here. All right, so let me get the chassis mounted up here next. All right, I got it mounted on there. I was never really super enthusiastic about the amount of weight that I was going to be trying to attach here, but I think I've done just about as good as I can. Hindsight, maybe the better thing would have been to use just construction adhesive, because I do, like I said, there's along in here, there are, variances. So the VHB is rather thin, probably, some sort of liquid adhesive that was rated for 1/4 inch or something would have been a better candidate to put back there. But I think I did it. The other thing was when I had to do these top screws here, I mean, it's hard to get in there with the drill, and so I had to use a screwdriver on the center one, and then I just angled up using the other ones. Anyway, it's on there. I hope it's on there. Well, it's on there now. Let's see how long it lasts. The next thing I got to do is plumb all this stuff in. So I have to get my input coming like around in a radius. So I don't know, maybe I can go back and behind, and then I have to plumb out. And basically that means cutting a hole into this area here, and I'm going to try to route it. I think there's space behind the refrigerator and then into the bathroom, which kind of, it's the inlet is at the bathroom. So plumbing is the next step. So anyway, all right, wish me luck. I'll let you know how it goes. Here we go. All right, well, I think I've done it. I've actually connected my filter to the plumbing in my travel trailer. So right now I have this this green hose right here is my supply line, and that's coming off of the city water. Well, the city water is right underneath that trash can. It freezes here at night sometimes. At any rate, what I have here is my pressure regulator and a little Y connector, so that I can have a hose. This black hose here is dedicated for my tank flush, but then, yeah, here's my freshwater supply here, and like I said, it's connected here, and the filter is right about here. And what I've used has been that inline filter, or an inline filter similar to it. And what I don't like doing is when it freezes, taking the filter in and that sort of thing. So now the idea is I'll just have one hose, no filter, because the filter is inside. Most of my plumbing connections are back behind the wall here. And so this is I'm pointing right at kind of the bathroom area. And then right here, this is where my refrigerator and my furnace is here, the heater. So what I ended up doing, and I can right now I'm touching 2 lines, and I have 1 line connected here for the supply. What I'm touching right here is like a piece of wood that Geo Pro put in here, so this is all part of the deal. And then down here I have foam insulation around those 2 supply lines. So this is actually my supply line, and I drilled a hole through the wall here. In fact, there's a little power outlet that I disconnected to make room for all the drilling, and then I'm just going to glue that back to the wall here, because I don't want to screw it in there, because I don't want my hoses getting kinked and running water everywhere. Where I had to penetrate the wall, so on each side I have 2 holes, I went ahead and I placed some butyl tape in and around the rough edges, just to help isolate, help protect the hose. I have 2 holes penetrating this side and 2 holes penetrating this side, but there's other issues. So there's a little propane burner in here, and this is for my refrigerator. So there's actually a heat source and a flue that goes up through here. So that's why I ended up using this little wood thing as a tray in there for the hoses, and because the flue exits right here, and you can see where it actually even tries to burn, or well, as good as you can burn wood that's been treated with fire retardant. That's what's going on here. So I've had big concerns. I mean, you can see there's a huge heat sink here. That's what I ended up doing. Let's head inside and see what connections I made. All right, so I made it inside and I pulled the bed out of the way, and yeah, so I made my 2 connections here. So this is the supply coming from the city water, like the hose bib. So I have, like I mentioned, 2 hoses, so kind of like 2 holes going through the wall here, and this is the left side of the refrigerator, and I got it coming supply in, through the filters, out and back, and like I mentioned, I'm using butyl tape to help protect the hoses. So it's running out behind my refrigerator here. And this is the filtered supply here. And what I have is a diverter valve here. I have a check valve. So this is like a one-way check valve. And then I have a T here. And what this does is this supplies my toilet right here. And this was just, oh my gosh, this was a big bear. And then it continues on so that it can supply the the bathtub, the shower, the sinks. That's pretty much it for this other supplies. But I have a shut-off valve here, so I can shut this off here. And now what I can do is purge my filters using my toilet only. So I can just simply run water through my new filters and not affect or impact the rest of the plumbing system. Clearsource recommends that you purchase filters quarterly if you're full-time RVing, and each time you put new filters in, you have to rinse them, and you have to rinse them inside the system. So that's what's going on here. I have that valve so I can isolate the rest of the system and simply just have it run into my black tank, and so I can do that for a minute. And anyway, I think it's going to work. I don't know. But the crazy thing here is I got pipes, as you can see, all exposed here in this area. And this is part of the deal. I'll show you the other part. But while we're here, I want to show you about this diverter. I kind of skipped over it. So the idea here, what this is doing is right now everything is flowing directly to all of my sinks, my toilet, my shower, everything. It flows out beyond here. But if I isolate everything by diverting the supply from the filter here. What this is supplying, I have it going down here, and I have a little connector here. That is actually my freshwater holding tank. And so what I did was I was having a heck of a time. I mean, this was no fun. So what I ended up doing is I put a connector here so I can, it was just easier than using the pinch clamps down inside this damn cabinet here, that I could just connect it here using this little screw dealio. And so what I'm getting at is that this is my bathroom cabinet, and most all of the plumbing connections are back in this area back here behind my cabinet. This right here, this is my pump, and then so when I need water from the holding tank, the pump pulls from the holding tank, and that is this connection right back here. So I'm actually moving it right now. So like I mentioned, I could divert and send everything into the holding tank. And then also this blue PEX line, it's pulling from the tank. The pump is pumping out of the tank and in here. So the pump used to be located here, and it supplied to this main line here. So what I've done is I've relocated it from here, and I haven't mounted it yet, but the idea is it will mount kind of back there, and then I still need to make sure I can access the little screen here. So this is the inlet, and then what I did was I just have it connect right here, and then this is the other supply coming direct from the filter. So I got those teed in here. And basically those are the connections. Now I ran into some snags. So I've done other videos talking about the standard connectors, and so there's like some Camco connectors, and I had a hard time finding a replacement for this. And basically what I ended up using was I had to transition from my vinyl tube using this push to connect, or push to fit, whatever they call it exactly. But basically there's a stop valve here, and I'm using a piece of PEX and another connector here just so I can transition over. So this isn't perfect, but it's the only thing I could find that would not leak right here. And I have another example right here underneath my sink of these push to fit. So I've basically all of my fixtures, my sink, even my shower is using something like this in order to connect to the faucets. So these are all fittings that are iron pipe and 1/2 inch. So you might see like 1/2 inch FIP, female iron pipe, or 1/2 inch MIP, 1/2 inch male iron pipe. Those are the pre-made fittings that I've been using. And as an example, this is the label that came on that one supply line. So you can see they label them like faucet. So the ones for the toilet are maybe the same FIP but a different size, and so the faucets are typically 1/2 inch. I kind of feel like I'm rambling on, but it was such a huge deal finding the correct adapter, because like I said, I've had that thing has been leaking back there, not constantly, but like, I don't know, every few months I'd see like a little puddle back there, and then it seems like it would seal itself up when it got corroded or something, but I don't know. Anyway, so anywhere that there was the 1/2 inch iron pipe fitting, like both ends of the pump or the sink, any of those faucets, any of those fixtures, I've been replacing them. So that was another big part of the project. So the other thing I want to mention that I've ran into was this, that dealing with that vinyl tubing that I purchased was really a pain in the rear. There's no way to really explain it other than those pinch clamps. I mean, I really worked my fingers to the bone, getting those things twisted on. One or two wasn't too big of a deal, but you know, dealing with, I was dealing with like a couple dozen, or I don't know how many, but a lot. And so doing that many and then working in tight spaces with those clamps, in some cases it was just like, man, I just could not get the darn thing to go on using the vinyl tubing. Now in PEX it was okay. And so what I ended up doing was, you know, long story short, is I would use, in the tight places, I would just use one of those FIP connections. So I would use like a, or a male IP. I would use one of those 1/2-inch iron pipe thread connectors so that I wouldn't have to reach back there and try to get the clamp on and all that stuff. I would kind of do the assembly outside in an area where I could get, you know, some elbow room, put the assembly together, and then the last bit would be one of those, you know, one of those screw type fittings like this one right here. This is a great example where I just basically made this my last little connection, and all I had to do is just twist it on. I just screwed it on. This is an example of another product that I might try to use in the shower, which I didn't know, or maybe this just became available. But SharkBite has products, they label NPS, and I have never been able to get this one to work without leaking. And I've tried like heck. So I bought this as a backup, and I think I'm gonna hang on to it, but I ended up using this, that steel braided pre-made supply line for the toilet. So I'm not totally complete yet, but I just need to kind of, I just got things buttoned up. So I don't have any leaks, knock on wood. Everything seems like it's working good. So I'll just keep an eye on things, and then when I'm happy with it, I'll start kind of securing stuff down. And I don't want to necessarily, because I don't want it moving around as I'm driving down the road and start chafing. And I noticed that's what a lot of these pinch clamps are doing from the factory in certain areas, is that they're just kind of like, they're just rubbing along the outside of PEX. So there's like the red and the blue line, they're connected, they're ran close together. And then so friction over time, I'm afraid it hasn't happened. I'm just concerned about it. Could create a leak. So that's, so I just wanted to mention that so that when you look at what I've done thus far, it's not complete. I still got to tidy things up, but I want to make sure that there's no leaks before I really secure everything and go through. I'm going to be here for a while, for a few days anyway, so that I'm going to take that opportunity of being here to make sure that I don't have any issues with leaks, and then it'll be taken care of. So, all right, I think I got everything covered. It's been tedious, so I'm sorry for the video being, you know, I'm not doing a very good monologue here, but it's been tough. This was a tough project. I don't know. Yeah, just if you take on something like this, and I don't even know how successful this is going to be as of yet, but if you take on something like this, I would definitely recommend practicing outside of the actual field, meaning that you know, when you use something in the field, you know, it's going to perform a different way than say in the laboratory. So kind of bring a little test area outside. I think you might have seen that one video I did previously, and do it that way so that you can kind of get a feel for how difficult things may be. Because when I started getting into those tight areas and stuff, I mean, I got cuts and bruises. I mean, I seriously have bruises all down my side from climbing back behind that cabinet. And yeah, it was not fun. Not fun at all. But I don't know if there's anything else I should be adding. I feel like I should just cut this one here. I'll let you guys know how it works out. You know, I'll keep everybody posted. I'm really excited about it. There's reasons why I've been breaking my back to do this, and I'll let you know. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye. Bye-bye.